project, we were getting 98 beds, mind you, 98 beds. It would have cost us, on average, $418,000 per bed. Under this PMP project, we're having just 60 beds, costing $3,916,666 per bed. Ladies and gentlemen, it is clear for you to see which government had the better choice, which government had your interests in mind. It is the People's Democratic Movement. And given a chance, because we need you to do this, we need you to help us take this government out of office so you could return an honest government to office who have just one thing in mind, your interests, and to work in the interests of this country. Clearly, what the PNP is proposing here is to saddle you, your children, and your grandchildren with debt. They are selling off all of the other assets so once they sell off the land, then they leave you with the debt. What do you have to bargain with in the future? We have to have a future for ourselves and for our children. And certainly this is not the way to go. The People's Democratic Movement has the better plan. And we ask you to consider, what is your choice? You have to make a choice. Take a stand. Let this government know that you are not going to be silent anymore, because silence means that you are satisfied with what they're doing, and that gives them the moral authority to do you even worse things. Enough is enough. It is time for us to rescue this country and put it back squarely in the hands of you, the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Salvo. And during question time, we will invite any questions that the members of the press may have on this or any other issue. However, in our last press conference, we informed you, the public, that the developers of the Four Seasons project in Salkey had met with residents of Salkey and informed them of a plan to construct a marina in the pond area and to construct a 100-foot wide canal on the main front street of Salkey, thus dramatically altering the current characteristic of Salkey, and for all intents and purposes dividing the island in two. This matter has caused great concern on behalf of the residents of that island, and they have, as we did at our last press conference, called on the government to meet with them to provide some clarity. Almost a month later, they and we are still waiting on the government to meet with the residents to provide that clarity. We again appeal to the Premier and all relevant ministers of government to meet with the residents of Salkey to provide some level of clarity. It is their island, and they ought to have a say in the direction of any development on that island. I would, at this time also, like to applaud the residents of Salkey for the united stand that they have taken in this issue to protect their way of life and to encourage the full support of all members of the TCI public for their cause. They have banded together, they have signed their letter of petition, they have made their case known to ministers of government and to the public at large. We simply ask you to support them however you can. I have also been informed that the residents of Salkey seek to do it right. They plan to seek God's face and will have a prayer and praise vigil in Salkey on Saturday, and have invited all residents of the country to attend. They have decided that it is in their best interest to seek the face of God, for ask for God's guidance and direction as it relates to Salkey and the state of our country. we ask all of you to join them in person and in prayer, and to offer whatever level of support we can with assisting them to ensure that the historical aspect of Solkey is preserved. From our standpoint, from a PDM standpoint, the People's Democratic Movement sees Solkey as a national treasure and an exemplification of the rich history that the Turks and Caicos has had over the years. It is our position that we would seek to preserve as much of that history as possible rather than seeking to destroy it. At some point, we have got to give some preeminence to our history and our culture, and to ensure that the things that are genuinely TCI ought to have some value. Solkey is a living museum. You can clearly understand, visiting Solkey, you can clearly appreciate the activity of the salt industry. You can clearly see genuine TCI architecture that has been exported to Bermuda in its truest form. And I believe that those elements of our history ought to be preserved and given the level of prominence that it deserves. I ask, and protection that it deserves, and I ask all of you to join with the people of Solkey in trying to achieve that. And let me make it clear, we are not opposed to development. Because the government is so predictable, they'll come right now and say that we oppose the development. Let me make that clear. We don't oppose no development. All we say, any development that goes on in this country ought to be in line or complementary to the aesthetics and natural beauty of the island, especially Solkey. And while the residents of Solkey don't oppose the development, it ought to be done in at a measured pace that allows for their involvement and that does not alter the characteristic of that beautiful by nature historic site that we call Solkey. That is our position. And with that, ladies and gentlemen of the press, we will open up for any questions that you may have for any further clarification.
With regard to the proposed development on Solkey, do you think there should be more clarity when it comes to planning proposals before they actually reach the planning board, so that residents are given the chance to object and voice their concerns before the proposals are actually accepted?